Hello and welcome to episode 71 of the Talk Nintendo podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Casey Gibson, and joining me tonight, as always, the one, the only, Perry Burkham.
Hey Casey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm fantastic. And that's all we need to know.
I was going to say, also, we are honored to be joined from the guys over at PolyKnight Games who brought you InnerSpace, Chris Miller and Tyler Tomaseski.
Hey.
Yes, sir. Thanks so much for having us.
What's good?
Yeah, so Chris, what is your role at PolyKnight?
So I do all music, sound, pretty much all audio for InnerSpace and for the studio.
The audio guy. So you did all the music?
Yes.
Nice. And then Tyler, what is your role?
I am the programmer, but I'm also the director.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, he's a little bit. He does a little bit of everything, honestly.
Yeah,
I'm also a lot of different hats.
Yeah, that's
Jack of
all
all trades.
So.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So you guys made InnerSpace. It's this really cool flight game for the Switch that came out a few weeks ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Been,
January 16th was when it
January
originally
16th.
came out. Yeah.
Oh, okay. There you go. Man, it seems like forever ago, but it's really not that long ago, actually.
I know it's only like 14 days.
Yeah, that's insane. Yeah. But I was thinking before we get into that, we wanted to talk about what you guys have been playing. You know, obviously as game developers, you're sitting there on the computer 23 hours a day trying to get your game out. But for the other hour, what are you guys playing?
Sure. So I originally I'm a huge fan of Rich Vreeland or Disaster Piece. So I've been told for the longest time that I should play Fez, which I never actually have. I've listened to the soundtrack probably like 100 times, but I'd never actually played the game. So I just recently started actually playing it, and it's great. It's definitely, I can understand why people have told me to play it, mainly just because of the way music is used in the game as ambience and how it feels like a part of the world and whatnot. So I think that's pretty much been what I've been playing. I'm a huge Lena Rain fan as well. So I just picked up Celeste, and I've literally just played that. I'm not very far in. I'm literally probably only 15 minutes or so into the game. But
you probably already died 25 times then.
It's been more than that. I'm not good at platformers by default anyway. So it's definitely taken quite a learning curve for me to actually learn the controls and stuff. But sound and music wise, it's gorgeous. So I've loved every second of it so far. I particularly like one of the biggest. I'm not going to go on too long about this, but one of the biggest things, I think one of the biggest hurdles we had for InnerSpace was the dialogue audio, and that was one thing they do really, really well in that game is the way they pitch kind of the I guess it's like a simulated vocals. The way they pitch it sounds really, really good for the dialogue audio. I don't know if you guys have played any of it yet.
Yep. Yeah, and they do it really well with the mood of, the situation too, where if she's like sort of timid, it gets like really high and almost mousy, And, I really like how they have used that.
It's good at it adds a good amount of levity, at least early on, from like the old woman character that you meet in the beginning, and stuff. It's good at adding kind of a levity, I think, to the overall feel of the game. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing. As we said, not a whole lot of time to play, but making time for it when we can. So
totally. And yeah, it's funny you mentioned the dialogue. And we'll get into this too, but that's actually like one of my favorite songs or ditties from InnerSpace. Is when you're talking to the archaeologist. I love that little.
It's funny. We had I've had a few people comment, which also that this could get edited out. But I actually tried to find you on SoundCloud. Do you have a SoundCloud?
Mm-hmm.
You do? Okay, yeah. I'll find you. I think I searched your name and I couldn't find you, but I'll find you. But But I actually had someone comment on one of those, and they said that this would make a heck of a ringtone. And I've actually had multiple people say that.
Go. Yes.
that's just it's just a dorky thing that I kind of geeked out about when I saw it. But I thought that was, it was pretty funny.
It would be, yeah. You're right. That's good. And you know who the best dialogue audio ever is from Animal Crossing.
Absolutely.
I tell you what,
Tyler would agree with that.
Yeah.
Celeste sort of has that vibe, a little bit to it, you know. Not quite as profound, but
where it just says the names of the letters really, really fast as they're talking.
Yeah. I have to throw in Banjo-Kazooie into that contest though, for like just all-time dialogue noises. Like,
Which is actually what the Celeste, is it Celeste? Is that how you pronounce it?
Celeste.
Yeah,
is it Celeste? Okay,
Celeste.
I assumed it was Celeste. Okay, yeah. That's kind of what the dialogue reminded me of a little bit, but it was a little. I don't know. It was a little more. It was a little more synthy sounding. It's a little hard to explain, but
sure. I love how hearing the opinions of the sound designer of what he thinks about the games.
Yeah, I was going to say, being a sound designer, like how important is that in like any given game that you play? Is that, I mean, I'm assuming that's just where your mind sort of gravitates first, probably, right? Is
that
really
exactly, which is part of the reason why, and the way that it works for me is instead of really geeking out about the music, it's more about the overall ambience. Like one of my biggest influences is Unfinished Swan, and I pretty much like I could just walk around that game listening to the ambience and just listening to like I even geek out about like the footsteps and stuff. It's really an interesting, either the footsteps or the sound when you like throw the little paint balls and I mean just the overall. I mean that we can get more into that later, but there's definitely an enthusiasm. Which when I was talking about Celeste, I was originally going to open up with like, oh, those little like wooden spring things that you jump on, those have such a cool sound. I love that sound, blah blah blah. But I figured that was a little more niche than talking about the dialogue. So I thought I'd lead with geeking out about the dialogue instead of little contact spring platform sounds. So
you could ease us into the real nerdy talk, you know.
That's right. I didn't want to take up too much time on your podcast talking about springs and platforms. So.
Oh well. Usually we're talking about how Pepsi is so awful and Coke is way better.
Oh sure.
But, no, that Casey loves Pepsi, and we all.
I tell you what, I've gotten more response from Pepsi lovers out there than you've gotten from any Coke lovers. So.
Well, it's just like, I mean, obviously, it's just kind of like Sonic fans reaching out saying,
I love
Sonic.
Important here though, where does Dr. Pepper land in this?
Ooh, I love Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper is like a nice, everyone's friend, family friend.
Yeah, I don't think no one throws Dr. Pepper into the fight between Pepsi and Coke.
I love my spicy cherry soda.
Yeah, well, I think part of it is that like we're in Texas, and like to the south at least, Dr. Pepper is like fighting words. Like you don't step on Dr. Pepper.
Oh really?
Yeah, you don't step to it, man. You just don't. It's our drink, like it's
interesting. Yeah, I mean Dr. Pepper. I don't think I've ever craved a Dr. Pepper in my life, but every time I do have them, they are good.
At McDonald's, Diet Dr. Pepper.
Absolutely.
Oh, see that's the funny thing is that Dr. Pepper is always the one that I hear people crave. Like people crave that the most.
It's that cherry taste.
Then again, we're all surrounded by Southerners that also crave Whataburger. So I mean, we're we may not be around the best audience in that regard, but
hey, Whataburger is great. It just wrecks you.
I am by no means hating on Whataburger. I will say I've had that, and I've had In-N-Out in my day, and I've had In-N-Out maybe twice, and I didn't particularly understand what the hype was about.
Let's not throw our game into the In-N-Out versus Whataburger. We're talking about video games. Let's not. Let's not
get too much.
We don't have either of those places up in New York, so
no, or in Iowa over here. So
what do you eat?
Sometimes if you guys are ever southbound, you should give Whataburger a try. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I've always wanted to try Taco Bueno.
Oh yeah, Taco Bueno. Taco Bueno, I would say, is the best out of all the southern.
No, don't go there. We don't need to. Wait, let's not. Okay. Let's not start Tex-Mex holy land wars here.
I think this is something people very strongly about. So I'm not going to go into too much detail.
We're going to rebrand the topic of the show to fast food arguments.
No, you give us any subject, and Chris and I will be on topic for the next hour. But,
we'll talk. We'll blab about it. So.
Well, let's talk about what Tyler's playing. I hear you've been playing a certain meme game.
Meme game? What?
I mean, it's
selling it short, Perry.
I hear you've been saying you've been playing the Dark Souls of games.
The Dark Souls of Dark Souls. I am a absolutely just huge Dark Souls fan. So Dark Souls Remastered just got announced for Switch, as you guys know. Yeah, no,
Heck yeah.
I'm not playing Dark Souls for the first time. I'm playing Dark Souls for I've lost count time.
Gotcha.
No, I'm absolutely going through my...
So you're one of these people.
Yeah, no, I'm going through my Xbox, my PS3, and my PC versions to decide which characters I'm going to, make first on the Switch.
Oh, man. And you hear it's going to run at a better resolution and frame rate and stuff, too.
I've been playing it on PC for a while, so... Luckily,
so,
but absolutely, no. God has answered my prayers. I'm getting a portable version of Dark Souls 1.
How sweet is that? We haven't played it at all, so we're super stoked.
Yeah, I'm beyond stoked.
I mean, you guys are 3D Zelda fans, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's the grown-up version of Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask. That's why I love it so much. But that and
it is.
Yeah, I think so.
I didn't realize it played like a Zelda.
Yeah, it's a 3D lock on, shield up, wait for the openings, action game.
The combat's just probably not as fast as a Zelda game, but
it can be.
When I was gonna say, I guess if you're using a big sword, right, is generally slow. And I've played Bloodborne before, so it's I have an idea, but from what I gather, Dark Souls is much more unforgiving.
It's much slower. It's much more in your head. It's you kind of got to play the game its way, but it's all more diverse. Bloodborne has a way to play the game, and you have to start playing the game's way, or it will punish you. Dark Souls, you can be a magician, you can do faith builds, you can do dexterity, strength, and there's all kinds of crossovers of sword mages and all that kind of stuff. And oh gosh, yeah, be excited. This is the biggest news for Nintendo in my book. Other than my game's the biggest news.
Heck
for
yeah.
Nintendo. When we heard about it coming to the Switch, we pretty much came to terms with the fact that we were never going to have Tyler's full attention ever again.
He's a lost cause.
You always knew if he was away from the computer, you could have some of it.
That's right. We have no chance now. There's no way.
Oh gosh.
Well, at least you understand that. I mean, beforehand, and
it's taken some time. We come to terms with it. It's taken some time, but we're it was quite a realization. So
nice. Well, let's get into talking about your game, InnerSpace. This is I have described it on our show before, and I'm sure that you guys, I don't know, this is my hot take. It's kind of I described it as Pilot Wings wrapped with Zelda, and I know that might sound kind of weird coming from you guys.
No, I think that's great.
To me, it's a very organic, open in the same time invertedly open game. Because it's wrapped in a sphere. It's you're not on the outside of a sphere, you're on the inside. But anyway, I want you guys to explain to everyone else what this game is.
Can I take that one, Chris?
Go for it.
Yeah. So InnerSpace is a open world but inverted world exploration game where you take the role of the cartographer. You're a really durable plane that can run into walls, smash through destructible objects. We wanted to create a very tactile, smashing into stuff, just trying stuff out exploration game where you just get to kind of do whatever you want to do in this space. It takes place inside of these inverted planets. So if you kind of imagine a planet inside out, to where instead of standing on top of the Earth, you're standing on the inside of the Earth. It's kind of a fishbowl snow globe kind of situation.
Yes.
Where gravity is pulling outwards. Which is actually where we really started with the game. Is we really wanted to create this space and this setting, and we're a very like art-centric studio with we have actually more artists than we have programmers. So it's just, that's kind of really our focus, is just this pretty gorgeous space, and sound a lot too. We just we're really excited to make something that was very unique and of its own, like soundscape wise. But just juicy.
Which it's also worth noting. There's only 7 of us, which is also worth noting. So
yeah, wow.
And over half, and a good half, over half is artists. So
yeah. I mean, so when did this project start?
Oh gosh, 3 years ago.
Oh man, lifetime ago.
Yeah. So
we were different men then.
Yeah.
All of us, man. So we started, most of us knew each other from college, and we were all kind of graduating and deciding what we wanted to do with our lives. But a few of us had worked on projects before InnerSpace. Most of us had made at least 2 games together, but some of us had made upwards of 4 or 6. Just smaller, little kind of game jam, 3-month projects at highest. And we decided that we wanted to start an indie studio that, being able to pursue our own goals was, and 3 years ago we were talking about if we wanted to make something for the Wii U or not,
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
So very.
You dodged a bullet.
Yeah, I was going to say, good move.
Your words, not mine.
Hey, we love the Wii U here.
I love it. I love it too.
We pride ourselves. We started in the Wii U era before people
got back on
knew
board.
the Switch. Yeah. So we love Wii U. Anyway,
yeah,
continue.
Yeah, actually, I mean, one of the game ideas we were even considering it was actually a game developed that would have been exclusively for the Wii U, but
really?
Yeah. It was something we'd made a version of where originally the game ran on a PC computer and an Android tablet, and we thought a 2-player game that's on a tablet and on a PC, that we're talking Wii U. But I think we looked at the console lifespan. We're like, by the time we finish the game, something new will be around the corner. So
Oh, what a shame, because that would have been really cool.
Not to mention, this was also this was when we were still in school too, right? So this was when we were doing a class at UT Dallas.
Yeah, we didn't even know if we'd be able to get a dev kit, and we've been working for the last 3 years, and we only got dev kits a year ago.
Gotcha.
So, but so it started out of college. Or actually right as we were leaving, we kind of started running our Kickstarter as just a couple of us were taking our finals actually for our last semester. But we kind of did that, worked out of our bedrooms. At one point, I think I had 5 of us in my bedroom, so people would just wake me up and start working on their desktops next to me.
It's about as humble as you can think of. We would have meetings every other week. We would have sprint meetings literally at Tyler's house in his bedroom, and that went on for a good year,
2 years,
even longer. 2 years.
2 years.
Dang.
Yeah.
Gee.
Wow.
Yeah, went on for a long time. Yeah.
Most of us were doing it as kind of a side project on our spare time while working day jobs. But for the last year, we teamed up with our publisher Aspire, and we were able to bring on 2 additional members. We were 5 people throughout that, and now we're 7, and we were able to get our dev kits, go full time, able to add Switch support, PlayStation, Xbox support. Switch has been, I think, the most fun, though. I mean, and that's not even me pandering here. Just, I love the Switch. It's fun, and it's
well, it's the best console. I mean, we all know it. It's okay.
But
it's not pandering if it's true.
Yeah, I think our network programmer would agree.
Yeah, as in a really dry, boring programming way, it was really fun to port for. In an optimization way, it wasn't as fun, but it was much more approachable. So this last year has been a lot of getting Switch up to snuff and all that. But I think that's mostly talking about the way we developed, but. InnerSpace starts as we were leaving college with this weird idea of an inverted planet, and it wasn't even a flying game at first. We're like, should it be in a boat? Should it be like Wind Waker? Should it be flying? We're like, well, we're an inverted planet.
Right.
We're inverted planets. You want to be in the air. This is like a air game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of water as well.
There is, yeah.
I mean,
and you get to go underwater too. So
you're also like a submarine ship like plane.
Well said.
Yeah.
I think there's the physics part of it was also something that at least I know from Tyler that he'd put a lot of thought into it early on with the gravity essentially moving out from the core of the inverted planet.
Yeah. Its origin was actually me trying to make a 2D Super Mario Galaxy, and then I messed it up and made the planets inside out, and I was like, oh, hey, that's a game. So
that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, especially with these very like stylized games, it's always intriguing to me what came first. Was it that idea of this beautiful world that goes hand in hand with the music, or is it like, and then you sort of find what the game will be out of that? But it sort of sounds like maybe it was more just that. All right, working your way into the middle, and then sort of the aesthetic and everything sort of came afterwards.
Yeah. It was really it was really trying to figure out what visual style would sell this space. We worked a lot with gradients of trying to sell height and space. One tough thing that you really take for granted is because in some of our earliest prototypes, so at first we had the idea of this inverted planet, and the game kind of grew out of that, and a lot of it was like, all right, we tried this simulator, more like sim heavy flying game, and then it was like, oh, this is really nauseating. Like you have to always know which way is down. This is really confusing. So then I tried like a Crimson Skies variant on the input, and that's kind of what we wound up with. Pilot Wings is Pilot Wings and Crimson Skies were kind of our two big references.
Totally.
And that was like, oh, cool. Like you can just ignore which direction is down. It kind of doesn't matter. Like at this point, you're in this cool space, but you're not beholden to it. You kind of just get to do whatever you want. And if you eventually understand it, it's okay. And if you never understand it, then whatever.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. I mean, when I was playing through it, I didn't even really know the whole inverted, and obviously I should have known like InnerSpace, not outer space, but InnerSpace, and in inside of a sphere and stuff. But it's just like flying around. It's like, where is the sky? It's like I just keep flying and it's only land. Oh, where am I? And then where's the map?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do? I need to be guided. And then after a while, it's like, wait a second. I see what they're up to here. They want me to do stuff on my own.
Yeah. So it's really interesting because actually for a long time we actually had a map in the game, but we realized in the game where a map's a two-dimensional representation of a 3D space, and it allows you to look at things that you can't physically see. But inside of these inverted planets, you can see everything. You can see the opposite side of the planet. It's right above you. And with that kind of setting, any kind of map was kind of pointless because it's just there. You can just see it. So why would you need a map? So it was one of those just no matter how much we would try to guide players, it's it just there's no way to do it. It was just very you can go anywhere. We can't stop somebody from going somewhere. It's right above them.
And adding on to that point, I just remember we toyed around. I just remember we had some early concept ideas for a map where it was if you're flying around inside a 3D world, I remember we had this concept. I don't remember who came up with it, but it was when you see, have you ever seen those 2D kind of representations of what an unwrapped globe? You know what I'm talking about? It's hard to explain, but it kind of shows them all in it's connected, but it's a bunch of
yes.
Yeah,
I can't even describe what I'm trying to say. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. It's not like a perfect square.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember we had kind of a concept for that, and we kind of realized that was even more confusing than just having the player flying around in the inverted planet to begin with anyway.
Right.
So that was kind of a jumping off point, I think.
Were you guys nervous not putting a map in there, that it might be a little bit too obtuse for a certain kind of gamer, that someone's that isn't willing to really put in the time to just sort of figure it out?
I think ultimately that's something that even now in the patch that we're working on, it's got frame rate optimizations and a bunch of stuff, but I think it's something that we're always nervous about, and it's something that we knew would be a challenge for the game, and we just from day one were fighting against. And even to this day, some people still get lost and some people get confused. I think part of it too is it's such a chill, pretty looking game that sometimes you just want to turn your brain off, and then sometimes you realize I found that happening to me.
I kind of described it in my review. It's like almost hypnotic. Like it's
easy to lose
big
yourself.
Part of it, it's just exactly.
I think a common word that we heard, because I remember when we showed this game, we showed it at PAX South I think 2 years ago, and we had a good maybe a few of the worlds put together. And one of the common words that we heard a lot was therapeutic. Was how people would describe it. The experience of it was therapeutic, which I thought was a very cool. I think that was an awesome way to just. I mean, I would love to hear that. I think that's a great way to describe it.
Badge of honor.
Yeah, I mean, so I really want to talk about the ambience of the whole game, and I know we've been talking about that, but really that is to me the strongest thing of the game that really caught my attention, and I'm sure most people's attentions, is that I don't know, like, especially with Chris here, who is the sound designer with ambience. I mean, and he was already talking about how he obviously has a passion for for the ambience. Now, like even just kind of just sitting there and talking to the archaeologist, I love that the sound of him talking, and then just even the writing goes perfect with it as well. But I mean, what was your inspiration like for everything in the sound design?
So this is kind of okay. So this is where I think the process was what played a big part in it overall. Was originally way back when I had started working on the sound for the game, we had a tendency to go, at least for the planes and crashing the plane and all that stuff, we had a tendency to make things sound more realistic, which is kind of I think just where your brain goes to begin with is like, well, I have a real world, I've heard sounds like this throughout my whole life, so I know what metal hitting metal sounds. I know what metal hitting rock sounds like. So originally I was like, well, I'm just going to do a bunch of recording, and I'm going to have these planes, they're going to sound like metal, it's going to sound like mechanisms, and then they're going to hit things, and it's going to sound like metal hitting this. And then it was kind of, as we continued to develop the game, and it actually kind of started to grow in its stylized voice, that was when I kind of realized that the sound in itself, I think, needed to play in this musical world overall, kind of play in the musical world as well as alongside the music, as opposed to in contrast to it. So instead of having like a soundtrack and music playing and then having realistic audio or realistic sound effects, that was kind of the jumping off point as to thinking like, well, how can we incorporate the audio of this world, or the ambience and the sound effects and stuff, how can we incorporate that into the music, which I think was kind of the biggest creative decision we made in terms of the audio. And that was where a lot of the reference material came in handy, like Ho Hokum, where they use a lot of musical synth sound design and whatnot. Same with Unfinished Swan and Monument Valley. But the main thing originally when we started was we had to figure out what this world would sound like from a musical standpoint. So the music was actually the first thing that we had started developing, and it was very, very early on. It was like, it was like when I first talked to Tyler about working on this game, I think there was just some concept art pieces to work off of, and then that was 3 years ago, and that was actually when in the first iteration, I developed kind of the main overall theme of the music, which you can hear in the soundtrack, but not so much in the actual game, just because the music is more modular and it plays more of an ambient role as opposed to a melodic for the most part.
Right.
So you can kind of hear the overall, if you listen to the soundtrack all the way through, you can hear the theme play more, but it's more used as a motif in the game itself, and it's a lot more subtle. And that was kind of something that we had also wanted as well, was we wanted kind of a minimalist sound to the game, just because we didn't want it to impose on the visual experience, and also the experience of playing it non-linearly, in that everybody's going to play it differently. Everybody's going to go through the world differently, explore it differently. So we didn't want to have, this sound kind of, playing over or getting in the way, I suppose, is the best way to put it.
Like a separate entity.
Exactly. So that was kind of the biggest, I think that was the biggest creative decision, was kind of deciding, which we made that decision fairly late, was that we were going to try to incorporate all of the sound design in the overall musical ambience of the game. Because allow me to geek out for a minute here. So this is
geek away.
Okay, so one of my big all-time influences is Joel Corlitz, who's done sound for Hohokum. He's done sound for Unfinished Swan, as well as a lot of other indie games, and I absolutely adore everything he's ever done. And I think that was he was kind of one of my big references for coming up with sound for the game. And one of his quotes is that when he's working on Hohokum, one of the things that he says is that you're pretty much having to think about, working with modular music tracks where you can basically have a track and you split it up into all the different instruments, and you're like, okay, how can I use this one part maybe as a motif, or maybe as ambience, or maybe as a linear a point in gameplay, or expressing that the player has done something, of substance or whatnot.
Right.
And so one thing he says is, like, you kind of think about it in terms of, like, well, how does music work for, like, a space? It's kind of like a non-linear musical sound design, I think is how he explained it, which I think pretty much explains this whole thing. At least what I was going for, I think that pretty much explains it perfectly, in that there's musical themes that hopefully if someone plays it, they kind of pick up on as they work their way through the story. But if you're just going through the world, you're not going to experience overall, like, you're not going to experience linear progression in the music. It's used more as a flourish for kind of making someone feel, what that world would sound like, basically. And if you go through each of the worlds, they all sound different. They're all in different keys, which was a creative decision we made, which is super subtle. But this is kind of getting more into the geeky factor here, where we pretty much decided that when everything was going to be more stylized, we made the decision to have all of the sound design within each of the worlds play within that musical key. So if you, for example, I'm not going to go too much into the musical terminology here, but if you're playing in, for example, the main hub world, everything plays just in the key of C, which is happy-go-lucky. Everything is, happy, stop and smell the roses, all that kind of stuff. And then when you get more into the ice world, it's actually in the key of B, which is a lot more sharp sounding, and all of the sound effects and sound design in that key, or in that world, is within that key. So
does that even change, like, when you're flying the plane? Because even, like, as you turn with the right stick, there's like this arpeggio almost or just, this scale, like, going on. Does that change too, or?
So that was actually a creative decision that we had made as well, where it was kind of this toss-up between what is the sound of the world itself and then what is the sound of the plane. And I think what we'd actually decided to do was, as the world changed, the key or the musical motifs in the world and whatnot, those actually change, but the plane itself stays the same. So we have the same key for the piano. We have that playing the same throughout all of the worlds, but then once you pick up other planes, depending on which plane it is, the musical key for those are different. So I kind of equated the Zephyr Spark is one with the ice world, and the Tidal Horn is one with the crab world. So each plane actually is equated with a different world, and they're within that key. But
cool.
But it's super subtle. You probably wouldn't even notice it if I hadn't have told you.
Right.
but the main thing was, it was kind of this dichotomy between the music and sound of the world and then the music and sound of the plane, where we wanted them to be together, but we also wanted the plane to have its own identity, which I know sounds super pretentious, but it builds a good contrast when you are flying through the world in the piano plane, and say you're in the ice world and you're breaking icicles or you're scraping and colliding on ice, and those are actually digital. Those are made all with digital sounds, so there's no actual acoustic recording of those sounds used. It's all digital, essentially simulations of what those would sound like using synthesizers, and then those are all within the musical key of that world. So it adds a good contrast for, if you're flying the piano plane around and you're hitting stuff within that world, all of those sounds in reaction to the plane colliding or interacting with the world are going to be within that world's key. I don't know if any of that. I don't know if any of that made any sense. That's super.
No, totally.
Super niche and super geeky, but it's super subtle too.
It sounds like you guys are setting up to make a spin-off sequel that's a rhythm game.
The next Thumper.
Of some sorts.
Could you hear Tyler's excitement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so my thing is like I love Patapon. I love so many I love rhythm games. I really do. But like in my own thing is that like I would love to take a lot of the thoughtfulness that goes into music games and carry that into other genres. Anytime you hear that really like that kind of Proteus styled like really musically responsive world, and there's like this deep thought into audios and keys and whatever. But like anytime that carries into games that normally don't have that kind of stuff, and they just do it, just as a like thing that they felt like doing. Like, yeah, I love that so much. And like I think your comparison earlier to like
have you guys played Thumper? Yes.
No, I don't think so.
The violent rhythm game.
The violent rhythm game.
Wait, what did you say? What did you say? What was the game? Sorry, I didn't hear you there.
Thumper.
Oh my god, I saw a video. I watched a gameplay video for that.
It is so
Crazy
good.
hard.
I highly recommend it. It's on Switch too. I mean, so you can. But I mean, it runs great on Switch. But
it's a VR.
I think it's
game
even
too.
on PS. It's PSVR as
well.
Oh my god.
Yes. No. I've played this. I didn't know that was its name, but I've played this on somebody else's Switch.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
oh my
really
god,
good.
the sound design is fantastic in that game.
Oh
My god, it's
and then
so
like
good.
especially like with the HD Rumble, which also is really cool in there too.
I know what I'm doing after the podcast, guys.
yeah, it's so good. But yeah, I love that that idea about Tyler, how you were saying, taking the spirit of rhythm games and putting them in other genres is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that really works really well with InnerSpace, and I'm glad we could get into the nitty gritty of the ambience, because I think it's obviously for me that was the strongest point of the game. That stuck out the most. So
well, thank you so much. That means a lot coming from a fellow musician. When I saw your bio, and I was like, I was like, holy crap, that's so awesome. Another musician's geeking out about the audio and stuff. I thought that was super
it's
exciting.
so good.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, everything. The game is great. Now, I would love to, as we close out, talk about the release. Obviously the release of the game for Switch and other consoles, and the reaction from people. Because now you suddenly have the most amount of people that have played the game now. So how has that been?
Yeah, it's been really interesting to see everyone get into it. It's been really, really heartening. It's been a little soul crushing at times. This thing we've been working on for 3 years, just to see people either adore it, be a little confused, or rip it apart.
Yeah.
It's.
Yep. Well, that's the internet.
Yeah, it's the internet.
That's how it goes with every creative endeavor.
It's vicious, but I think for the most part we've been pretty happy. I think some of the stuff that we've seen that people have gotten caught up on, we've got fixed up in this patch that we're rolling out. We've even got some frame rate improvements for Switch, which is really good.
That is, I'm so looking forward to that. That sounds awesome.
Yes. I think the big thing is that we always knew that this was going to be a really odd game, and we've done our best to make it really approachable. And some stuff has remained really odd and remained really weird, and it's the kind of thing that requires like the old school Nintendo Power approach of like what the hell do I do?
Right.
The schoolyard game where you got to talk to your friends.
Recess.
And figure out what's going on.
And it's but generally with reception, I think it's been pretty positive. We've had a lot of like 90s, a lot of like really positive reviews. We've had some mixed ones, but generally I think the people that have gotten it have really loved it, and that's been like really awesome. And anyone that for the most part, I think people that don't get it still really want to like it, and it's still just short of a few things, and hopefully with patches and a few tweaks just based on community feedback, that hopefully that gets there for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I mean, honestly, like playing it, I knew this is not a game for every person.
Oh,
like, I don't think every single person is gonna completely appreciate the game. It definitely, for me as a Nintendo player, which I know that. I don't know how really Nintendo based your focus is with everything, but it really just like I was like, wow, like I'm getting the feels that like I get like from like Skyward Sword in the Ancient Cistern and like and from Wind Waker and I'm getting it in, and I was just like, I can't, like it's amazing, like the feeling of wonder and as I was exploring through, and but it's just one of those things where, yeah, like you said, it's an odd game, and but it's beautiful, and it
starts to make sense once you get your hands on it,
Yeah, I think wonder's that's a good word to use. I think that was kind of something we've always tried to, since it's pure exploration game is kind of the idea.
And for me personally, if a single person gets a Zelda vibe from it, I'm like, yes, like absolutely. The last three years of my life were worth it. Really, because like I so badly.
That's immediately what I felt. So
I so badly wanted that, like that moment when you like get the chest to become visible and it plays the do 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 do, and it's the little jingle, and you're just like, yeah, like I just even that carries through in Chris's work of like this kind of atmospheric, chill, droning environment that like only when you make progression or interact with stuff you get these like really strong and melodic like jingles and melodies that like really kind of like have this cool like this cool like that the Zelda jingle, the chest, the boss room door, just all that, it's
the payoff,
everything.
I love it.
Which that was kind of the biggest thing that that stems from the biggest thing that I knew I didn't want to do for the music for the game. Was I didn't want to just have music looping like how you would hear in platformers and whatnot, because I'm like, well, somebody's going to be flying around this world for potentially a really long time, and I don't want them to be hearing the same music loop over and over again. So that was why we kind of were like, well, let's have different elements play as you fly around this certain area, or you go underwater, or you go deeper within the water, different parts fade in and fade out and whatnot, as opposed to just hearing the same kind of musical idea over and over and over again. It changes as you go through the world, which was what we knew we wanted to do from the get-go.
It helps make the world feel like larger too, where you're being rewarded, this is a new area, it's a deeper, change of pace, to sort of
that was pretty much one of the biggest things. Was like when you go underwater, and we were like, I was always like, we want to have that fast arpeggiated thing playing, because it's like, when you first dive underwater, there's like bubbles and whatnot. I was like, let's simulate that with the music and have all these fast arpeggiated things, and then it's kind of like as you go deeper down into the water and into these caverns and stuff, those fade out, and then you hear these more long sustained lower synths as you go within the water and you kind of go deeper. And that was an idea that we made very early on that we knew we wanted to keep in the game. So,
but I think if
just stuff like that.
Yeah, I think for us to kind of strike that like mellow, but then like music coming in as you explore new spaces. But like, I think really just like I think you guys like to hear somebody else say it without me having like put the idea in their head of like, oh yeah, this is a weird Zelda game, but also instead of using a sword and shield, you're an airplane, and also it's inside of inverted planets, and it's kind of trippy and psychedelic. Like that's an amazing game pitch to me, and if anyone gets that vibe and like has those emotions at all, I'm like, sweet, That's...
See, the funniest thing for me was and I was too embarrassed to admit that I'd never played it, but when we had a Twitch streamer streaming the game live, and there were multiple people, and it was one of the first ones that we were obsessively watching these things when the game was like first getting released, where we would post it in our chat and we'd be like, this person's streaming, and then we would all like go on there and we'd all be like watching this person stream.
Oh heck yeah.
And it was obsessive, man. I'm telling you, we were looking like every single streamer that we could find, we were posting on there, and we were going on there, And one person did say, it was actually multiple people, they did say when they were playing through, I think, the hub world, they were getting major Fez vibes from playing. And I was too embarrassed to admit that I'd never actually played Fez, but I'd watched lots of Rich Vreeland videos where he talks about the soundtrack, and I know the soundtrack, but I'd never actually listened to it in game, which is what I'm doing now. And I can honestly say that is an awesome thing to hear. That probably made the whole thing for me when I heard that.
That's awesome.
And and it's one of those things where, when you're watching these Twitch things, as I said, it was an obsessive, at least for me. I can't speak for Tyler, but at least for me, especially when it was coming out and stuff, it was so obsessive that, we all created, at least people that didn't. Well, actually, I think we all created new Reddit accounts as developer Reddit accounts for PolyKnight Games because we had an AMA for InnerSpace, and then we would go on Twitch, and I created a developer account for that as well. And people would go on there and they'd be playing, and I'd be freaking out. And as you guys were talking about the encounter with the sunfish earlier, and not really knowing exactly what to do as you progress through the different stages. And people would be playing, and they'd be flying, they'd be going underwater and swimming around for like 15 minutes, and they're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And then you'd be on there, and you'd be on there as a dev, and you would go. I would jump in the comments and be like, hey, Dev here, you need to do this. And they'd be like, over the speaker, they'd be like, thank you so much, Dev. I love you so much. Blah, blah, blah. And it was so fun. It was almost an addicting thing to watch people play it. Because, a lot of the Twitch streamers have like really super awesome communities. So a lot of the people commenting in the chats were like super nice and were super excited and were actually making really good conversation and asking, really awesome questions and stuff. And it was really engaging, which was super cool. I know Eric and I would go, who's our producer, we would go in a lot of those chat rooms, and we would talk to people and stuff, and it was a lot of fun. So
did you get valuable feedback through those like Twitch streams and stuff for future patches or fixes you needed to do?
I think that was probably the biggest takeaway that we had, at least from what I saw, was watching somebody play the game live. You see their frustrations live, and you see, kind of what people have a tendency to do. Because, everybody explores it differently, but then one thing that we learned is that, we've been looking at the game for so long that we kind of got complacent about it. Like, I had never really seen, at least for a long time, seen someone play through the game. So it's interesting watching how differently people play it. And that's something that we've learned is that everybody plays it very differently.
And to see, someone that's entirely fresh that, even like is like getting a press key and they like don't know that it's a game about inverted planets, to see them like, like have these like just amazing, like, oh, like there's no sky, or, like the first time you break out of that tunnel, out of the cave, and you get that nice reveal with the jingle and all that, like to see people's fresh reactions to challenge, to exploration, to reveal, to wonder, to mystery, and all that. It's one of those things where we learn a lot about seeing people play the game for the first time. And, within your own circles, you can only drag so many people to play your game for the first time that have not heard about it. And to really see someone, for, better or for worse, to play it for the first time, it was addicting, and it was terrifying at first, and then it was addicting, and then it was sometimes annoying, and sometimes it was just a guilty pleasure. And I think most of us at some point had like 3 different Twitch streams up, and also we're doing work, and it just to kind of, I think also like really participate with the community like that. And I think we're still a small enough studio that like it's not unreasonable for us to try our best to like really engage with everyone. And we can't,
right.
But
probably gives you a big boost too to just see people enjoying your game.
Yeah. It's after this long trek, it is a big emotional boost to see somebody enjoy it. And
it is.
Yeah.
It's also just as terrifying when you see someone that I don't know. One of the things that I've learned is I don't read YouTube comments or watch YouTube reviews, because I swear I watched a couple, man, and there's only like 2 that I saw, but man, I'm telling you, some of those people are. They're not exactly nice.
Yeah. That
yeah,
said though,
I don't know why it is those YouTube comments.
Man, I'm telling you.
That said though, like we did an AMA on launch day with the Nintendo Switch subreddit.
They're great.
And like, oh my gosh, like I can't say this about every community, but like Nintendo Switch people, and I think like you guys probably can really speak to this. Having like
we're listening,
like having like run a podcast through like the dark days of the Wii U, you know, like Nintendo people are like freaking hellbent on just like a loving and appreciating every port and every morsel of video game, and like it's a really it's a really positive community.
Exactly.
And,
I mean, I mean, you guys releasing this, alongside all the other consoles, like it is cool. It is a win for the Nintendo community.
Yeah.
Some of the questions were super technical. I was actually really surprised when we were reading through the subreddit. There were a couple about sound, but overall it was a lot of very technical Switch, obviously Switch related questions, which actually really surprised me.
Mm-hmm. It's Nintendo people really. I think they have a very high gamer IQ. I know it's kind of a crummy catchphrase, but like the amount of people asking really like astute and really like targeted questions at really specific things was like a lot of them. And it was a really engaging conversation to have with them. But also like, I mean, honestly, like I'm pretty proud of like our port. Like it's not perfect, but like at the same time, like we haven't made any content changes to the Switch version. Like there's not a like, we're not running like compressed, like more heavily compressed audio on our Switch port. It's all there. And like the only difference being like the resolution, because most Switch games run 720 on portable. Like other than that, like we kind of got to deliver the full game to Switch. I'm like pretty damn proud of that. So
heck yeah, man, it's amazing. And I mean, just to wrap things up, what's next for you guys? What I know you're doing the patch, which when is that gonna be coming out, or when you trying to get it out?
So we've got that in Nintendo's hands right now, so that is wholeheartedly up to them. That's been shipped off.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's just one of those like when it goes live, that could be tomorrow, it could be a week from now.
That's crazy.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so that's I'm not trying to put pressure on anyone there. That's just legit. It's in the pipe, and it's it'll drop when it drops, which hopefully is really soon. As far as what we're working on next, that's something that we're still kind of soul searching on a lot of ways, but I think we'll always kind of carry that wonder and color and vibrance. And I don't know if we're going to make another exploration flying game and inverting planets. Probably not, but hopefully we'll make something with the same kind of out there indie charm.
Awesome.
Yes. Well, which we're actually working on. I don't know if we're allowed to.
No, you can't not say, Chris, what we're working on. You cannot say.
No. I was gonna say that the next patch that we had, it's the content patch.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that's something
I don't think
we're
we can
working on
talk
as well.
Yeah, I don't think we can talk too much about that, but we have a kind of quality of life patch that has some changes to gameplay and tuning and bug fixes. We were hoping to put out another patch to add in some additional planes and some additional content for everyone for free.
Ooh.
But
there's some audio updates in there as well. Partially based off community feedback, partially based off of overall.
You being obsessed with.
That's what I was going to say, your obsession.
Me being absolutely obsessive, yes. Well said.
But,
no more audio patches, dang it. It's the fifth one.
This boy ain't right.
But I want to change the key of the ice world.
We're gonna have to reach that at some point where we just put it all away and let it all be, so.
Right. Totally.
But
Never.
Until that day.
Well, guys, I want to thank you for coming on to the old podcast here.
Yes, thank you so much.
It was really fun to talk to you guys about this game.
Yeah, dude, likewise. Thank you so much for having us. It's been a pleasure, man.
Yes. And now it's time to pimp out all of your wares. Where can they find you and your game and everything?
So you can find us at InnerSpaceGame.com. We're on the eShop. We're on the PlayStation Network. We're on Xbox One. We're on Steam. Literally anywhere that anyone's playing video games right now, just search InnerSpace and pick up our game. And also drop us a line. We're pretty responsive on Twitter. Let us know what you think about the game, and we're open to talk to anyone, So yeah.
What are your guys' Twitter handles?
Chris, you get to say yours out loud.
Oh God, I do.
Unless you don't want to. You don't have to.
He's gotta.
No, I have a super embarrassing one that was originally a joke from college, like 4 years ago. But it's at X Gucci Mac, which is XGUCCIMAC, and that's, don't even ask. I don't even remember. It was a joke from a long time ago.
X Gucci Mac. All right.
And we can catch our studio at PolyKnight Games, and you can catch me at Godjammit. That's GODJAMMIT. It's a dumb music. Right. It's a dumb music joke.
And there's an InnerSpace game Twitter as well, which is just InnerSpace game. So,
all right,
drop that one as well. Yeah.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Well, thanks again, once again, guys. We really appreciate you guys coming on to talk about InnerSpace, and of course. The door's always open, so next time you guys got some news you want to talk about that next game, you got a Nintendo podcast to swing by.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for having us, guys.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, we'll see you later.
All righty, talk to you later, guys.
All right, have a good one. Alrighty, we are back, and once again, we just want to thank Chris and Tyler for stopping by. Really great dudes talking about InnerSpace. But enough of that InnerSpace business. We touched a little bit about what those guys were playing and what we've been playing, but we didn't really get to talk to Perry. And you've been playing a pair of review games, haven't you?
I have. I kind of snuck a couple in. I didn't. Yeah.
You sneaky devil.
Yeah, we were just talking InnerSpace, and we're going to keep with the space theme, because I have been playing Space Dave! Yeah, Space Dave! This is the sequel to... Whoa! Dave!
To Inner Dave?
Yeah.
It's just in his head. It's like terrible thoughts. He's like
yep.
a sad man.
Yeah.
Poor Dave.
Poor Dave. Well, yeah. So, if you don't know what Whoa Dave is, it's this arcade game that plays like a fast-paced version of Mario Bros, like the original Mario Bros. Kind of a different take on that. I mean, it's it looks different, but I mean it's very similar. This new Dave is basically like Space Invaders mixed in with Bird and Beans. That's how I described it in my review.
I like that.
Yeah. The way Space Invaders, there's a bunch of enemies. They all come in waves, and they're in different shapes, and you'll attack them. Now, they will dive towards the ground, and if they hit a piece of ground, that will turn into lava. That's where the Birds and Beans comes in. So, yeah, exactly. So then you have a jet booster that you can jump over the gaps. So it doesn't necessarily limit you like completely like it does on Bird and Beans. But it still obviously gets harder.
Just a speed bump, if you will.
Totally. And so the way you get it back is once you defeat that enemy that fell. So once it falls to the ground and then it becomes a more powerful enemy. Once you defeat that enemy, it drops the skull, and then you can throw that back on the earth, and it won't completely heal. Actually, it takes 2 skulls to heal one completely, to make it back to the normal ground. And that's basically it. I mean, and you're shooting them, and you get upgrades like your basic shoot 'em up upgrades, like like a drone will come in and help. So you'll have 2 shootings going at once. You'll get a rapid blaster, where you can shoot faster. One of them is lava freeze, where all the lava that's on the ground will freeze so that you can actually walk on it, and it'll be for a while. And then it'll slowly, you'll see it start flashing, and it'll turn back into lava. But that's really useful if you're especially if you're covered in lava. But the best upgrade of all is the space block. Now in the in Woe Dave, there's the Woe block, and now this is a parody of the POW block. It worked basically the same way. Anything touching the ground, you throw the block, and it will kill everything. Yeah, but it's Whoa!
That's awesome.
Now, and in Space Dave, it's a space block, and it works differently because obviously nothing's touching the ground.
Space!
Yeah, space! When you throw the space block onto the ground, it'll explode and it'll send a wave up, and like anything caught in that wave, any enemies will suddenly turn against it, will come and aid you and become its own little gun. And so it's like you can capture like 10 of them at once.
Oh, and then you become like suddenly, wrecking.
Yeah, and it's like, oh my goodness, like, and you just start exactly like just taking out waves and waves just like no one's business. I mean, it kind of gets a little harder because the things they shoot out at you, because there's, they can hit the other enemies and it won't do any damage, but if they hit you, it's still a one-hit kill, and you get like 3 lives. So, amazing feeling. So, it's a high-score game. There are world leaderboards. Unfortunately, there's no friend leaderboards.
That's strange.
Yeah, it is strange. I did email them, and they said that they actually are working on getting those in soon to the Switch version. So, which would be awesome, because to me that's the whole thing. Is I don't really care about other people. I care about if I've beaten my friend at the game.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't want to see how bad I am behind the top scores.
Yeah,
the unobtainable.
As of yesterday though, I was still in the top 15. And I think we have a listener. Let me find his name real quick. Who posted? Terrence. Yeah. Terrence was posting at Choice Provisions, and I was up there. So I'm still there. So you can still scroll down, but that's not gonna last for a long time. There's gonna be some Jimmy that's gonna take over.
Some Jimbot.
But I gave it a good score. I love the game. You got to know it's a simple arcade game, but it's very wacky and crazy and a lot of fun. Perfect pick up and play. Looks great on the Switch. Has a pretty weirdly overpowering rumble on the Joy-Cons. Kind of like brings up memories of early Snake Pass launch. Yeah, but you can turn the rumble off if it bothers you. I mean, it's not like it was never like too crazy, but it's like kids.
It's a little jarring.
If you're playing this in school, the teacher's gonna tell you're doing something over there. So
you know what it is? It's when what normally gets me with the HD rumble is when like those rare times and. The game I'm going to be talking about is Celeste, which we'll get into in a minute. I've been playing with the Joy-Cons detached because of that D-pad. But, when I put one down on the table and then I like go to get a drink, but then I'm also sort of looking at my phone and all of a sudden it's like, and it makes you jump. You're like, Jesus!
Yeah.
On the glass table, I'm like, oh my God.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. The Joy-Con in Space Dave is I'm sure they're going to fix it in a patch or something. It's not insanely crazy, but it is legitimately like this thing is trying, like the Switch is trying to escape my hands. So anyway, yeah, that's Space Dave. It's by Choice Provisions, and we actually next week are gonna have the director of the game on the show, Lord Will and the Crick Don't Rise. That'll be fun, and we can talk more about it then. But check out the game. These are the same people that brought us to the Bit Trip games.
Ooh, and we got Runner 3 coming out sometime this year too.
Yeah, baby, physical.
Got a pre-order.
So
I think I do.
Got to pre-order that. But as you had mentioned before, Casey, you've been playing Celeste.
I sure have. Now, this game right here...
Man, I want to hear about this game.
Well, I'm not gonna tell you anything about it.
All right, next up we have...
Because I've been playing Radiant Historia.
Yeah.
Yeah, Celeste. Okay, so now this was a game that we saw earlier on. Was it the Nindies Summer Spotlight or whatever it was?
It was one of those Nintendo... Yeah, whatever it was. It was some sort of Nintendo showcase thing.
Yeah, and I totally missed... I totally missed it. It went under my radar. Maybe it was one of those quick shots, where you don't really know what game it is,
game. It looks cool.
Yeah. But during the most recent mini direct, when they sort of showed this one in Feoff or Fe, F-E.
Fia.
Both those games jumped off the page at me. So this one, like you said, beautiful pixel art, and it is a platformer with the sort of hey, this is a really, really difficult platformer, sort of like your Slime Sons and your Meat Boys of the world, where they're purposely ramping up the difficulty to the point where you're going to die often, and it's just going to be one of those, you sort of have to beat your head against the wall at some points, till you sort of, I know what I need to do, but now I need to execute that. So now what tools you have in your arsenal are, obviously you got to jump. You can grab onto walls by hitting the R button, and that, so sort of like, I guess Gargoyle's Quest, right, where you could latch onto a wall. But what's nice is you can actually move up and down. So you can jump onto a wall and then climb to the top of it if you wouldn't be able to reach it with a normal jump. There's also a dash, so you can jump and dash. So there will be points in time where you need to jump, dash to a wall, grab onto it, and then climb up the top, So now you do have a stamina, so you can't just hold on to the wall forever, you know what I mean, or something to that extent. There are points where, you need to make a quick series of jumps and get to the top, otherwise you'll fall to your death. Now, what's nice is, when you do die, it's real quick, you know what I mean? You're right back into it. Each screen is, sort of like a sustained puzzle, get to the exit, and sometimes there's, I don't want to say exit, get to the point where you could push to the next screen. Sometimes there's multiple screens to choose from and secrets to find. And then again, sort of like Slime Song, where they had the apples sort of scattered about, this game has strawberries.
What? What's with the fruit thing here, huh?
Yeah, I have no idea, but these, now, I don't think they do anything at all. I think they're just literally a badge of pride to sort of be like, hey, each level has X amount of strawberries, and you can be like, hey, look, I got, 28 of the 30. How many do you have? So I guess sort of just a personal kind of thing.
I have 30 of 30.
Well, I guess I'll stink.
Yep.
But no, these strawberries are really tough to get. I shouldn't say all of them. Obviously, there are going to be some that are easier than others, but some really require either really precise movements and jumps, or even just sort of thinking of how to even get to a certain area sometimes is half the puzzle, It's all right, how do my jumps work, and how can I use those tools to sort of get to that area? But aside from just the, really difficult gameplay, I mean, as we said, it's pixel art, beautiful, really, really beautiful. They do some really cool things with the lighting and just some really great, elements to just make it stand out. As we talked earlier with Chris, how he admired the text box, how they talk. I think a lot of the sound design and the music is really, really beautiful. You can actually, I believe, get the soundtrack on iTunes and stuff. It's really nice to listen to. Now, what's really cool about this game is that, with most platformers, there's some sort of there's a throwaway story. You know what I mean? Sort of yeah, this is why you're doing these things, but, obviously the majority of the focus was...
It's based on gameplay.
Yeah, making sure that the level design was really great, that it's fun to play, it feels right, it's challenging, but, all that stuff. But, and it does that. Celeste does that wonderfully. The level design is top-notch. But what I found really amazing is that they were actually able to add a story that you actually care about, and really has feeling, and it's sort of, it seems to be, I'm not super duper deep into the game. I think I'm on the 6th level, maybe the fifth or sixth, or around that point. But
okay, how many levels are there?
That I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not 100%. But it's really interesting because it's just this your main character, Celeste. Actually, I think it's Celeste Mountain. I forget her name now that I'm thinking about it. It's definitely not Celeste. Oh, it's Madeline. Madeline.
One of those.
So she's having like some sort of like mental, I don't want to say mental breakdown or something, but she's having a hard time, and like climbing this
depression.
Yeah, like maybe maybe it's battling depression and those kinds of things where her goal right now is I want to climb this mountain, and she's being told she can't. And then, she's like, oh, well, of course I can. And as you go through, you find, like, a mirror, and all of a sudden, like, a mean Madeline breaks out. And it's sort of, like, it's another one of her, but it's, like, sort of, like, the manifestation of, like, I guess her bad thoughts, you know what I mean? So, and she's, you can't do this, you always screw things up. Don't try and help that person, like... And so it's interesting to see how this is developing. And there'll be points where... you're in, for instance, the one, it's an early level. It's you get to this hotel because you're climbing the mountain, right? So there's a hotel somewhat close to the bottom of the mountain, and you get in there, and it's weird and it's sort of abandoned. You find this guy, he's sort of strange, and again, you're sort of trying to help him, but like he's also being really weird, and it's like I don't know if I should be helping him, but it's just interesting to see how the characters interact. But then that was also a level that really stood out to me. It's just because you get to these points where all of a sudden, like, okay, bad thoughts are sort of taken over, and now I'm in the hotel, right? Or I'm in this area, but it's clearly, like, also melding with, like, her mental state at that point, so when she's panicking, now all of a sudden, like, the world is coming to life in a bad way, where it's, like, sort of like the nightmare is taking over. So it's really, and then that presents new elements and new factors you're going to have to deal with when traversing that area, you know what I mean? Right. And it's just, the game is wonderful. They really did, like I said, I haven't really seen too many platformers that sort of tie in a really compelling and interesting sort of plot line to go along with just a masterful level design. I have not tried any of the B levels yet, but... located in each level you can, and it's sort of hidden off the beaten path, so it's not like I'm trying to think, it wasn't like so hidden like you would never find it unless if you're scouring every single inch of each screen, but you will find secret areas, and then you can get the B side or the B tape, and it's that same level but remixed to really, really, really difficult levels of of insanity, if you will. I haven't played it, but I've seen some videos of them, and it's just like, whoo, that's going to be like the people that love those super difficult levels in like Super Mario Maker, like the Kaizo levels, I think they call them, where it's like, it's like, you need to be, I don't want to say frame perfect, but like you need to literally be like, there's a choreated dance to get through this level, and you need to be spot on. And it looks like I don't think I will literally try and beat all of the B sides, but I definitely am excited to sort of get in there and sort of give my my hand a try and see how bad I get demolished. But yeah, you're gonna die a ton. I die hundreds of times a level. You know what I mean? Like.
Oh, yeah.
And they give you, of course, the nice little counter after you're done with the level, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, 200 times.
Yeah. Well, remember, there is some pretty cool difficulty scaling options you can do. Which, have you ever dived into that yet?
No, I haven't messed around with that because while the levels have been very difficult, there hasn't been one where you know what I mean, where I couldn't get past it. There have definitely been, like, screens where I've probably died 20 times, and then it's, like, sort of finally, like, clicks, and you work your way through it. But it is nice that they do have that option. Yeah, no, it's I want to say it's difficult, but it's not, like, insidious levels where you just, want to put the game down or anything. Or at least I should say not to this point that I'm at yet.
Right. Well, I'm sure you'll be playing more, and you can update us a little more next week on your findings. You can tell us how Madeline's depression is.
Yeah, hopefully she's overcoming it. I believe that's hopefully the goal when we reach the peak will be sort of her path to enlightenment to overcome that. But I'm also going to be
or she's going to get to the top of the mountain, and then she sees the bigger mountain.
Yeah, she's like
on The Simpsons.
Oh no, this was the bunny hill. But I'll definitely have an update on that next week, as well as a Radiant Historia I started playing. And we got we'll be talking Radiant Historia, the new 3DS one, next week. But also, we have to tell the peeps you have finished Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I sure have. Oh my goodness, dude. I don't want to make any changes to any top 10 lists just yet, because I know, obviously, coming off the emotion of just beating a game, especially one that I wish I knew exactly how many hours I put into it. The in-game freaking clock got busted. But well over 60, I would imagine, at least. So, I mean, right now I want to be like, Xenoblade 2 is my favorite Switch game. But
you can say that. Your favorites can change.
No, I know. I need to let the dust settle on this one, and maybe revisit, think in 2 weeks, come back and be like, is it still, was it just the high of beating the game? And
I hate it.
Yeah. It's worse than Xenoblade Chronicles X.
You took the words out of my mouth. Well, this would be a good time to plug. David Lloyd is starting a new connectivity segment, The Thirsty Mage.
Yes, he is.
And this is going to be, is this a monthly, or trying to be a monthly project?
Yeah, the plan is going to be a monthly RPG discussion podcast over on Connectivity. Each month, sort of go into the real nerdy, get into the mechanics, talk battle systems, stories, music, character development, all that jazz. I believe the idea is going to be the first 90%. No. The first 90% of it is going to be spoiler free or light spoilers. You know what I mean? Obviously, if you're talking about characters that maybe are introduced a little bit later into the game, that could be spoilish. But no, we're not going to be spoiling any of the really story elements until that very last segment, where then it's going to be like, hey guys, if you haven't played it, flip it off, flip the podcast off kind of deal. And then you sort of get into the more spoily cast stuff. But I know
spoily cast.
The old spoily cast, man. So yeah, no, that's going to be a monthly thing over there, and I believe the first 2 months are already lined up for Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I believe we're going to be aiming to record that sometime in February, with the release coming during Xenoblade Week over on Nintendo World Report, which is going to be big old celebration of all things Xenoblade. And then I believe the second episode will actually be Radiant Historia, the perfect chronology, I believe, is the title. So pretty exciting things. David is awesome, so I have no doubt that the podcast is going to be equally as awesome. So it's something to look forward to.
One more time, that's The Thirsty Mage, and actually they have there's a Twitter you can follow for that, and I believe, isn't that at The Thirsty Mage?
Yeah, somehow nobody had The Thirsty Mage on Twitter.
Yeah,
I can't believe
amazing. It. So it's not at The Thirsty Mage _16. It's just at The Thirsty Mage. So
it's just The Thirsty
check
Mage.
That out. And it's going to be part of Connectivity. So, and we'll definitely let you know, obviously, when that comes out, because Casey's going to be on it. I'm not going to be on it because I'm not a nerd.
Yep.
Just kidding. I'm a huge nerd. I'm just not that nerdy, if you know what I mean.
You're like one of those fake nerds?
Yeah. Now, right now,
You're
I
a
have
furd.
one last game. I have one last game to talk about, and I just had an idea. It's called 10-second run returns, and now I'm going to run a timer for 10 seconds, and I'm going to tell you about the game in 10 seconds, and that's going to be it.
Here, how about this? I'll set the alarm, and I'll tell you to go, and I'm going to cut you right off at 10 seconds, okay?
Okay, okay, hold on.
Actually, you'll hear the beep because it's going to
okay.
have a countdown, all right? Ready?
Okay. Yeah.
All right, tell us what 10-second run returns now.
Okay, previously in 2010, it was released as a DSiWare game, and now it is on the Switch, and it is where you have to go through platforming levels and finish them in 10 seconds, and then you're done, and then that's basically the whole game.
That was pretty good.
Hey, huh? All right, cool.
There you go.
Beautiful. All right, well, let's take a quick break. We're going to come back and do a loaded eShop roundup, and then get to the news, and you know.
The whole rigmarole, as they say.
The whole bippity-boppity, as they've said before.
Scoop-bop-a-dop-bop-bee-bop-bay. Craigslist
eShop
roundup.
All right, we're back, and it's the eShop roundup. It's where we go through all of what came out on Switch in the last week, and we're going to start with
offerings.
We're going to start with the thing that makes it a week.
I always like when we start it off because I actually wonder, do people get nervous when we're getting like 3/4 of the way down and they haven't heard a Neo Geo game? Are they worrying like this might not even be a week? Like what is going on right now? But then, But you know what? It's also nice because I guess it keeps them on their toes.
Yeah. Now, Casey, I have to ask you, who's the strongest in history?
I don't know.
Maybe we should have a new World Heroes tournament now.
Woo!
Yes,
We'd definitely find out.
World Heroes 2 for the Neo Geo is out for the old hamster price of $7.99. It's a fighting game released by SNK in 1993.
No! A fighting game?
Yeah, I know, by SNK. Can you believe it? They never make fighting games.
Now, are you looking at these awesome screenshots?
Yes.
There's like a pirate fighting a karate guy, but the pirate is unleashing some sort of shark attack.
Yes.
And then the other guy's kicking the shark in the face.
Dude, I like the skeleton sitting on the pile of gold in the back. The audience is a skeleton sitting on a pile of gold. There's like a football player fighting like a WWE wrestler, throwing a football at him.
It's like his Sharugan. Yeah, look, this is really crazy looking. And there's
Sharugan.
Wow, this game looks awesome.
It does.
If there weren't a million games to play.
Oh man, yeah.
I remember the days when I could buy a Neo Geo game and play it all the way through.
Woo! Okay, let's keep going. Next up, we have the Tachyon project. That's how I'm choosing to pronounce that. Or Tachyon. I'm assuming it's Tachyon.
Tachyon.
It's for $9.99. Now this game looks like Geometry Wars kind of.
Yeah, it's sort of Geometry Wars also sort of gives off that Graceful Explosion Machine vibes, a little bit.
Yeah.
Sort of like those neon colors too.
Yeah, it looks cool. $9.99 from Eclipse Games. It's 1 to 4 players, so that's cool.
Yeah, it looks sort of interesting. Next up, we've got here a little game you just talked about, Space Dave for $9.99.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's I don't think we really have to say much more. You touched on that pretty good.
Just remember, it's from the guys that did the Bit Trip, so good stuff. But yeah, next up we have Dust Off Heli Rescue 2 for $14.99. And this is where you're playing as a helicopter, and I'm assuming you're rescuing things in this blocky Minecraft-looking world, and
yeah, it looks interesting, to be honest with you.
Interesting.
Like you said, it sort of has that Minecraft blockiness to it. But I've watched some gameplay videos, and the helicopter moves pretty fluidly. It looks like it could be some fun. I guess it used to be a mobile game. I think it was ported over, but so I think it has some interesting controls with like the L and R trigger being like involved with that. Right. But yeah, $14.99.
And there's 35 tenths missions. So yeah. Now next up we have what is it?
Super Case? One More Jump for $7 on the schnoz. Yeah. What? Jimbo. But
now I've heard really good things. We have a good review on the site from Don that people should check out. But yeah, this is I believe the idea is it's one button controls. So
yeah, it looks interesting. Like you said, to sort of echo that, I've heard also very good things. I've $7.
It looks great. Yeah, $7. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Why not $6.99?
Yeah, just not
That's
$7.
Weird.
Just not $7.
Why not $6? Dude, $6.99 looks so much better.
Oh, I know.
We want the penny.
I would have bought it otherwise. No. Yeah, it looks sort of cool.
Okay.
Yeah, one touch control, good to go. It also has over 100 handcrafted levels, some endless modes and stuff. Yeah, pretty cool.
This next game looks so cool. Seriously. Now, this is a hamster toss, but it's not Neo Geo. It's an arcade archive. And this would happen to be Kid Nicky Radical Ninja. And if you're looking at screenshots, they're pretty sweet. Weird looking. Kind of reminds me of, those games released on the Wii U Virtual Console like last year. Remember, where you play as like a monk or whatever?
Not ringing a bell. They've got an error on their page here, though. Got a typo.
Oh, do I?
No. They do on the Nintendo page.
What is it?
It says Kid Nicky Radical Ninja in parentheses, but in Ninja, the parenthesis is between the J and the A instead of after the A.
Ooh.
But anyway, action
Good
game
find,
released in 1986. So,
Woo.
No, the sprite work looks really cool. Like you said, the characters looks
very bright,
nice and defined. You know what I mean? It's not like he's like a blob or anything. Yeah, it looks interesting.
Yeah. Yep. All right, let's move on. What else do we got?
Next up, we've got Zero Gunner 2 for the Nintendo Switch. That's also clocking in at $7.99. Now, is the actual title here Zero Gunner 2 Dash for Nintendo Switch?
Yes, it is. That is the title.
Interesting. This is an older game, though, because I'm looking at the title screen here, and it says 2001, so it's interesting to see the re-release. I mean, well, I don't say it's not that interesting to see a re-release, but it just looks weird.
Yeah, I know. And the abstract on the eShop says Psycho or whatever it is, Psycho Revival, and then 2 exclamation points, and then it says play the good old arcade game. Play the good old arcade game.
It's good and old, baby.
I guess. Well.
And I said that price, right? $7.99.
It's like a shoot 'em up, right? Or no, what is it? I can't even really tell from the weird screenshots.
They're saying arcade first-person action game.
Oh, it's first person.
So.
Weird.
That's what they're saying.
Right.
The screenshots don't really appear that way.
No.
It looks like it's not first person at all. But
right.
But they categorize. I don't know.
Anyway.
Right in.
Let's move on.
10-second return.
Give me 10 seconds.
Oh, yeah. Go.
No. Okay, this is 10-second returns, and it's funny because it's the price is $6.54, like 654-321 go.
Is that really what that's for?
I think. I don't know.
That's so weird.
I think because every time you start, it goes 3, 2, 1, go. You know.
Interesting.
So, I don't know. I don't know why else it'd be $6.54.
I mean, yeah. I can't even call it a Jimmy price because it's the weirdest price I've ever seen.
It's a Jane price. Now, you thought the last name of the game was weird. How about this one? This is the actual spelling of this game.
Okay. Fantasy Hero. Unsigned Legacy. With the... what are the squigglies called? I forget what they're...
The squiggly hyphens? I don't know.
The squiggles?
Squiphens?
Yeah, that's strange. Anyway, $9.99. This is a hack and slash RPG... or a hack and slash game meets action RPG. stand up with the 4 heroes to save the world.
Yep.
Looks sort of interesting, I guess.
Yep. If you like that sort of thing, sure.
Strange name, man.
Yep. But speaking of strange names,
what is going on this week? What is happening?
We got more. Strikers 1945-2.
For Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, for Nintendo Switch.
Why?
This is an old game.
Oh, it's the same people. That's Psycho.
Yeah.
I want to say it's Psycho, but Psycho? Psycho?
If you went to a video arcade, you might know a certain name. The name is Psycho. The Psycho made an awful disaster that called Psycho Bullets.
$7.99. Moving right along.
Players left and but
moving along. Next up here, we've got.
Hold on.
Just because you took 10 seconds to talk the other game doesn't mean you get 20 minutes on this one.
No, listen, this is how they end this. Seriously. The player who wants to play shooting game from the bottom of heart, please do play Strikers 1945-2.
All right, they sold me. Just because it asked nicely.
Yep.
Alrighty, next up here we've got straight up tennis.
Yeah, we had wacky game names.
Not this game.
Now it's about
This game gets right to the point. Tennis.
Yep.
For $7.99. Now this looks sort of like it's a tennis game, you know what I mean? But like I guess the characters almost feel me-esque, not quite like the, you know what I mean? But like the little bubbly characters. You know, it looks like some interesting sort of tennis court areas, like one out in like looks like the cherry blossoms by the bay,
or the cotton candy.
And then you've got I think you play, it says up to 2v2 split screen or locally, so that's pretty cool. Connect through 2 consoles.
Yeah, it's only 2 players though.
Yeah.
So
looks like a little nice little tennis game. I don't know how well it plays, but it looks like if you're looking for, a tennis game to hold you till aces, this might be a decent little option for $7.99.
Yeah, for sure. Next up, we have not Star Wars, but Earth Wars.
The Last Jedi.
For a Jimmy price of $4.50.
Why? I just
now.
You ever seen Billy Madison?
Yes.
Like when he grabs that kid, like the fat kid, and he starts shaking him, and how he's like, "Never leave school," you know? Do you not remember that part?
I haven't seen it for like 10 years, or like 20 years.
I just want to like grab those people and be like, "Why $4.50? $7."
Yeah, why not $4.99?
Yeah.
I would have rather paid.
You'd make more money, and you'd look like less of a gym.
Yep.
But anyway.
Well, yeah, this is a tough, cheeky 2D action game, and it looks pretty cool. It kind of looks like Xenoblade in some of the screenshots, and then it kind of looks like I don't know. It's weird looking.
Yeah, it looks sort of interesting because it, like some of the backgrounds and monsters look really detailed, but then like your character looks like it's just sort of like pasted on top of it in like a more 2D style. Although I guess looking at the monster too, it looks like it might be like a 3D background with like 2D character models. Not that that's a bad thing. It looks sort of cool, but
it looks cool though. And I heard Don say it's pretty awesome, and it's only $4.50. So, but I won't buy it.
You mean it's only $4.50?
Yeah. Yeah. But last and certainly not least, probably most, is
Celeste.
Yeah.
Boom. We talked about that enough.
For $19.99.
Worth every penny.
A game that we've talked about many times already on the show.
Definitely worth the price of admission, I'd say.
Cool. That's good. All right. That's going to do it for the eShop Roundup.
And it's time to move on over to the old
News Talk with Casey Gibson.
That's right, the news block. Don't listen to that jingle, it's the block.
That's right.
Now, speaking of blocks, we've got an update from the Octopath Traveler guys over there. Now, as we all know, the demo came out last year, and I'd say to great success. A lot of buzz, a lot of people seemed to like it, and there was a video released, and we now learned that over 1 million downloads of the demo, which is pretty ridiculous if you think about it. It's a lot of downloads for a demo. Now, they've got about 45,000 survey responses, which I'd say is sort of not a great rate, you know what I mean, for 1 million to only get 45,000. But you know what? 45,000 survey responses is still a lot, that can benefit the development. Now, what's nice is they are taking these points of criticism and running with them and fixing some issues. Now, I guess I haven't actually played this demo. I downloaded it but never got around to it. So I don't know how glaring some of these issues were, but I guess some of the main complaints were sort of the speed of the game and not being able to skip cutscenes. Had you die to a boss and have to re-watch all of the cutscenes. So they put in an option to skip that. They put in, I guess, just now the pace in which you move is just generally faster, and you can actually sprint, and the sprinting lets you move really fast. But I guess to sort of counterbalance that, your attack or the rate in which you get into encounters is raised when you're sprinting. But that's also good because that sort of gives those people who want to grind a little bit, or level up, the ability to do so quicker. But yeah, it seems like they really are listening to what people want and are making a lot of changes that are going to sort of quality of life changes. But they also said they've been changing some more stuff that they can't get into just yet. But I think it's really, really cool that a company, like Square Enix is sort of taking all of this, grassroots criticism and sort of rolling with it for this game. And I really can't wait. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's cool that Square's always, with their games, they always put out demos. Remember the Bravely Default? Remember they had those really big demos before? And
dude, I love Bravely Default, man.
Yeah?
Dude, I know I want Bravely Default 3 so bad. Bravely 3rd, baby.
All right. Well, now, would you like Persona 6?
You better stop that, Perry.
Now, do you want it on PS4, Switch, PC, or other platforms?
I think I'd like to play it most on the PC. So then this way I can't truly get comfortable while I play.
And or play it anywhere else.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
No, apparently
my computer's
Atlas is actually... Yeah.
I was going to make a waterproof joke.
Yeah, oh jeez. Apparently Atlas is asking if we want it on... which one we want it on, and we obviously want it on Switch. And hopefully this could help bring future Atlas titles to Switch because of this. Yeah,
now Atlas obviously has had a really great relationship with Nintendo, especially on the 2DS, on the original DS and the 3DS. Obviously Shin Megami Tensei is going to be coming out, the 5th one, to the Switch, so we know Atlas has a pretty good relationship with Nintendo. I would wonder, Persona has sort of been a Sony exclusive game, you know what I mean? Game series, and it sort of seems like Shin Megami Tensei now is sort of like a Nintendo exclusive. So it seems like Atlas sort of likes to diversify and give each platform holder some love here and there. I wonder if they would be willing to put Persona 6, on multiple systems. Honestly, Persona 6, I guarantee, will come out after the Switch is probably already on either its last legs or the follow-up will be coming out, They don't release those games very often.
Right.
And when they do, like, I remember Persona 5, I think I remember seeing a graphic with 2013 or 2014 release date, you know, and it didn't come out till 2017. So, yeah.
Sounds like a certain Zelda game.
Yeah. Or like a Square Enix, play out of the Square Enix playbook. But what I would be more interested in to see if they would be crazy enough to bring Persona 5, and I don't, crazy enough I don't say, because I think it would probably be like a no-brainer, you know what I mean? Like, it would sell like hotcakes on the Switch. People love these RPGs on the Switch because it's easy to play, you could bring with you, especially, you know, a game that's probably going to be pushing 60, 80, 100 hours. But I don't really know how that whole deal works with Sony. If there is some sort of written agreement, you know, that like, hey, we're going to keep this on that platform or not, or if maybe it's some sort of timed exclusivity. I don't know, and I don't think there's really probably any good concrete information about that kind of stuff out there. But man, I would love Persona 5 on the Switch. It would just be so perfect.
Well, thank you for that groundbreaking news that you'd love Persona 5 on the Switch.
That one was for me, boys and girls.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because the other day, Target was having one of their little deals, and Rhyme for Switch was 50% off. So it was $20. Or so I thought, because the game runs $39.99. I went there and I picked it up, and I looked on, because you have to have a Target Cartwheel app to buy stuff. I mean to use it. I mean, you just need the app, and that's all. And apparently it was showing up for $29.99 on the app, and then 50% off that. So I got Rhyme on Switch Physical for $15.77. And I'm telling you all this because, and I didn't know this was happening, but apparently an update for it was submitted to help with all the little jankiness that's going on. And apparently it's a really big file, and they don't know if Nintendo's gonna approve it because it's bigger than the standard approval like file limit.
Interesting.
So yeah, we'll see how it turns out. But anyway, I'm still happy because I've always wanted to play the game, and to be honest, the cover is so nice, and the manual is really nice too. It's a really nice physical game, and it's looked cool. And I remember waiting out line at PAX. Remember that up on the billboard? It was up on the billboard.
Oh, yep. No.
Remember that?
Yeah, I sure do.
That was so weird. But yeah.
No, that's a game that really interested me because, like you said, the art style was just wonderful. It looked like a really fun world to explore. But then we just heard how bad the Switch version was. So hopefully this patch, you know, fixes a lot of that, and that might be something that I keep an eye out for because it definitely looks like a really cool game.
Totally. So we'll see if that update comes out. So now to get on to Breath of the Wild news, it is the highest selling Zelda in Japan in 19 years. That surprises me. How's that possible?
Well, I'm trying to think. Yeah, because
Ocarina of Time.
Well, that 19. What did it say? 19 years ago. So it would have been 99.
Yeah.
That would have probably been Majora's Mask,
Majora's
right?
Mask. Yeah.
Which is, I mean, I guess maybe the follow-up to Ocarina of Time. It had a lot of hype going around it. But I would have thought that maybe A Link Between Worlds would have outsold that just due to how many 3DSs are out there in the world.
Mm-hmm.
That you'd figure they would have put plenty of sales behind that. But yeah, I'm looking. Japan release for Majora's Mask was April 27th, 2000. So I guess that makes sense, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
yeah, I don't know.
Breath of the Wild has sold a lot. So yeah, that's cool.
You know, it was probably Ocarina of Time, which was released in November 21st, 1998, which would have been, it was definitely Ocarina of Time.
Yep.
That makes sense.
So, Good.
Not anymore. But yeah, moving along here. Speaking of good things happening to good games, Celeste has been tearing it up, critically at least.
It sure has.
Now, NWR, Nintendo World Report, Neil Ronhand, gave it a 10, and I remember when that was sort of kicking around, like, yeah, I think I'm going to give it a 10, and I was like, oh man, okay, like, great, it sounds like a great game.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, we saw IGN and Destructoid also give it 10s, so I'm real happy to see that this game's getting a lot of love, you know what I mean? Especially when you sort of get, a smaller indie game, sort of the pixelated art, I could have seen some people been a little hesitant just because of maybe some backlash of, what a 10, I've already seen comments like, how could you give a game a 10 with that graphic style, which is silly, but no,
you mean a nice graphical style?
Yeah, one that's aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, how could you do that?
You jerk. But no, I mean, just awesome. Like I said, worth the price of admission if you're looking for a really fun platformer.
Very good. I definitely will be getting it. So, all right. So, have you ever heard of the game Fortnite?
I sure have. Have you?
No.
Okay, so let me take this one then. Worldwide
right.
Creative Director of Epic Games says he's interested in bringing Fortnite to the Switch at some point. Now, Fortnite is this crazy online co-op survival shooter game, right? So it sort of has, I think they actually added a battle royale mode, which is sort of like that PUBG, which we talked about. But I guess what's cool about this game is you can sort of it's survival and you got to take out, it's a gunplay game, but you can also build I don't want to say forts, but literally there would be people who are like, I need to get from this side of the cliff to the other side of the cliff, and there's just a big gap, but all of a sudden you see this guy laying down bridge planks in front of him as he's running across it, you know what I mean? And there's other points where these two people are having a gunfight and one person is sort of exposed, but all of a sudden then they build a wall with a little window right there, and all of a sudden now they have cover, So I guess it sort of adds that element of constructing and building bases, and with the good gunplay and survival aspects of it. So
sounds cool.
It's been tearing it up. It's really popular. So if it can get to the Switch, and it's one of those games, it's not if you were to look at some screenshots or something, it doesn't look like it would be something that would be it's got that cartoony vibe to it. So I don't think there's might not. I don't want to say that because I guess I don't technically know all the ins and outs, but it doesn't seem like something that would be too graphically taxing for the Switch.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, I've never played it, but if it came to Switch, I'd probably would.
Of course. And that's the story of all games.
Yep.
On the Talk Nintendo podcast. I haven't played it, but if it came to Switch, I probably would.
Amen.
Yes. Well, we have an announcement block inside of the news block today. One that I know people are going crazy about is Dead Cells is going to be coming later this year to the Nintendo Switch. A game I don't know anything about.
Yeah, I don't really know much about it either. I know it's a roguelike Metroidvania hybrid, I guess.
Ooh,
I don't know. Looking at the screenshots, really cool art style.
I mean, everyone loves this game.
Yeah,
so.
Again, I've heard a lot of really good things. So, hey, keep bringing them good games to the Switch, and we'll keep trying to find time to play them.
Yep, we promised that. Now, speaking of bringing good games to the Switch, friend of the show, Jules Watcham, that crazy man is bringing tons, him and Atui, bringing tons of games this year. I mean, he brought out Mutant Mud's collection, a month ago. But they have Zeo Drifter coming February 15th, so that's a couple weeks. He also has Totes the Goat coming out for which is the mobile game coming out for the Switch. And yeah, and it has like all of the. It's not just touchscreen. It also has like a button, controls and analog stick controls.
And he said, I believe he said he took, because I believe it's $4.99 or will be $4.99, and it doesn't have any of the microtransactions that you'd find in the mobile version. So I know,
right? It's not like the other mobile games that come to Switch that are $29.99 and still have all the.
Yeah, it's nice that someone.
Yeah, yeah, and then beyond that, he said that This is exciting. There's gonna be a playable demo of Treasure Knots at E3. Which, I wish I was going to E3. Maybe next year.
You better.
Yeah, he also mentioned that there's a Chicken Wiggle rehatched Kickstarter campaign coming soon, so be on the lookout for that. But the big one.
Yeah, arguably the biggest news from his blog post, I would say, is the announcement of a little game called Soccer Slammers. Now, this is a graphic. It sort of has like a blocky character, sort of like a Minecraft looking character,
just like Totes the Goat. Yeah,
but
it's just like Totes.
Yeah. I guess that would have been a better comparison. But I guess if you hadn't played Totes the Goats though,
right.
But yeah, I guess this is sort of like an NBA Jam styled soccer arcade game. 2v2, sort of just like NBA Jam, and I guess the plan is to release that game around the time the FIFA World Cup starts, which is in middle of June. So not too far off that game either. And if it can hit that feel of NBA Jam, man, that's one of my favorite games to play ever. It's just so much fun, just pure gameplay fun.
Yeah, and people around the internet seem to be very, very excited about that concept as well. So. Yeah, really hope that all works out. But I mean, that's like 5 games coming out this year for a 2E, so which is awesome. And I'm really pumped for Zero Drifter. Man, I was looking at screenshots. That game is gorgeous. So can't wait to play that in a couple weeks. So,
but that's not the only announcements. We've got more, Perry, in this announcement block.
We have more.
We've got Wild Guns Reloaded headed to the Switch. They didn't give a date. They just said early 2018. Now, this isn't a game I've played either. But I believe it's like a remake.
What is this game?
I think it's like a remake of like an older game that came out. Let me see, for the Super Nintendo. 94 came out in 94, 95 in the US. I guess. Yeah, here we go. Reloaded is just an enhanced remaster of the original game. Reloaded is an enhanced remaster titled Wild Guns Reloaded, which was released in okay. It's just already out for the PS4, so right. But yeah, coming to the Switch. Like I said, I haven't played Wild Guns, but I know the name's got some cachet, so.
Yeah.
You right over there?
Yeah, I'm looking at a trailer for it. Yeah, looks cool. All right, we also have Flint Hook and Mercenary Kings announced with limited physical releases.
Very, very nice. Yeah, I don't. Again, these aren't games I'm really in too much I know about, but I know Mercenary Kings is like a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up game. So, and I think
it looks awesome. Yeah,
I'm trying to. It's Tribute Games. Is that the? I'm trying to think. No. Okay, I was thinking of the Trine guys. That's.
Oh no.
I forget, what is their studio called?
Frozen Byte?
Is that okay? So I'm just way off. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Hey, physical releases are always good, and that's not the only games, or I should say, those aren't the only games getting physical releases. We're also getting a Darkest Dungeon physical release in March. We talked about this game a couple weeks ago,
awesome.
And all the different SKUs. Well, now you've got a $40 SKU, so.
Yeah, yeah, but it does come with all the ancestral editions, so it's really only $5 more.
For the cart, baby.
Which is definitely the avenue that I would buy it on.
Yeah, if you're going to be spending that much cabbage already.
The only thing is that it is a roguelike. I don't know what to the extent, but it's like those are so good for just popping in, popping out, you know?
Yeah, it's always nice to have those on deck, if you will.
But you gotta have the case. The Switch cases are just so nice. I'm sorry.
They're good size.
They just look so
size.
Cool. They are. They're so cool. But yeah.
Alrighty, and that's going to bring us to the end of the news section. Borderline hardy. You know what? The announcement block brought it over the edge. I'd say it was hardy. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm looking at my main bullet points here. I'm like, there's not. But you know what? Boom. Announcement block. Hardy. Yeah. There you have it.
Very good. So it looks like we have time now for a little listener mail. We got one in from our old pal Jonathan. I'm going to go ahead and read it. To close up the show, he says, great episode, guys. Was surprised at your picks. And he's talking about the top 10s that we did. He said, had fun trying to guess them. Please sing the ARMS theme if you read my email, or even if you don't. All right.
And I want to keep doing it in a nice low voice while you read his top games.
Perfect. Okay. Number 11, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Number 10, Kamiko. Number 9, Overcooked. Number 8, Snipper Clips. Number 7, Splatoon 2. Number 6, ARMS. And now at number 5, Nintendo Disney Afternoon Collection. Number 4, Fire Emblem Echoes. Number 3, Shovel Knight Spectre of Torment. Number 2, SNES Classic, Mario World and TKC. And the number 1, Nintendo Switch system itself.
Woo!
Thank you, Casey.
There we go.
Yeah, that was really good. Yeah, Jonathan, I love those picks. Although I feel like putting the Super NES Classic and Switch system as 2-in-1 is kind of cheating it, but that's okay.
Nope, I like a good workaround.
Yeah. Yep.
Now,
I mean, I guess, yeah.
Now, we also have one last email from Ryan. Another top 10. I think these will be our last top 10s we read. And we'll say that because we're recording this the penultimate day of January. So, after this point, we're going to be getting to February. We're going to be talking new things. But last email here for our top 10s. This one, like I said, coming from Ryan. Howdy, boys. Firstly, congratulations on the big 7-0. It's a milestone that goes vastly unappreciated. I concur.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm a few weeks behind, but I figured I'd send my top 10 games for 2017. Yeah, it's a lot of the same things as most lists, but I'm sure there's something worth commenting on in there. So, starting at number 10, we've got Blaster Master Zero.
Heck yeah.
Monster Hunter Stories.
Very interesting.
Metroid Samus Returns.
Metroid.
Hollow Knight.
That came out of nowhere.
Looking forward to... Well, that apparently really good. I'm looking forward to... that one's coming to the Switch as well, I believe. So, number 6, Super Mario Odyssey.
Hey.
I
think mine was number 6, too.
Number 5, Resident Evil 7. Very nice choice. Great game. Mm-hmm. Number 4, Mighty Gunvolt Burst. Woo!
I cannot believe you like that game more than Super Mario Odyssey.
Well, there you have it. Number 3, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Good man. Number 2, Nier Automata. That's a game I wish, like, if that were to come out to Switch, 100%. I just don't have the time for the PS4. Anyway, number 1, Zelda Breath of the Wild. And here he goes. I'd also like to...
I don't know.
I'd also like to give an honorable mention to Magikarp Jump. It is an indie game that other indie games should aspire to be more like.
No, you're reading it wrong. It is the idle game that other idle games should aspire to be more like.
I thought it was some sort of typo. My bad. Anyway.
No, that's okay.
At the Ryan DS Twitter handle, thank you for writing in. He also chimes in with, I think, quite possibly the most salient points of this email.
We don't have to read this last part.
Is that says, P.S. Team Pepsi for life. Now, I just want to say, this is now at least a few, maybe 3 listeners who have chimed in with pro Pepsi, and I don't think we've gotten a single pro Coke comment from anyone.
You know why that is, though, right?
Yeah,
do I have to explain this to you?
Well, yeah, you can make some sort of argument about
have
how
you ever heard...
they got a beat on their chest because Pepsi's inferior. But all I know is I don't see anyone but one big Jimmy Joe who likes Coke on this here podcast. And that's that.
This Jimmy Joe. Now, yeah, but it's just like when people come and say they like Sonic. It's the same thing.
Except we don't get any of
it's
those
like, I don't
emails
have to sit
either.
There and go, I don't have to sit there and go, Mario's obviously better. I'm not even going to dignify that with a response. And that's how I feel with these poor Pepsi folks.
You know what Sonic and Coca-Cola have in common?
You were going to say Pepsi, and
no.
you had to stop yourself.
They've both
you were.
have 0 emails from our listeners chiming in saying they're great. Food for thought.
Goodness.
Food for thought. Anyway,
No.
that's going to bring us to the end of the show. Of course, you can find us over on Twitter at Talk
this
Nintendo
is a call
Pod.
out
That is Talk
No, wait.
Nintendo POD. Look, the thing is, you need to put the call out for the Coke people to chime in.
David Lloyd said he liked Coke.
Yeah, but he's
David's
Canadian.
the man. No, and Danny Bivens.
I just want to point it out. You're calling for a call to arms here to get the Coke people rally. But you know what?
Just send the emails to talknintendopodcast at nintendopodcast.com.
Has anyone shilled for pro Pepsi comments on this podcast? No, because it's not needed.
Oh my goodness, that was my whole point.
Nope.
No, because they've actually written in with Pepsi, like saying, "Oh, I need to let you know that Pepsi is like I need reassurance."
But then how come you just called for reinsurance from your Coca-Cola fans?
Because I want to shut you up.
Because you're a Jimmy and you lost the argument.
Oh, no.
Case closed.
There is no argument.
On that note,
Coke is better.
We will see
Bivens
you
agrees.
next week as always. And remember, keep drinking that Pepsi.
No. Hey, you know what? I'm the editor of this podcast.
I know, that's the bad thing. He's probably going to freaking change it up so it's like, remember to always drink Coca-Cola.
Hey, thanks for giving me that. I will.
Alright, I'm stopping because I already said goodbye.
We're talking real nerdy.
You're a furred.
Squifins.
And remember, keep drinking that Coca-Cola.